morning. It's so exciting to see people in the park. Better? If you haven't gotten your free ice cream yet, make sure you get that. You'll be here for a little while longer. And I wanted to ask for a round of applause for our musicians in the back. Come closer then. Tom Dupre and David Hawthorne are here. Is that working? Is that better? All right, so just in time for me to say that I'm Jean Mineo, the chair of the Straw Hat Park Committee, and it's really just been my honor for the last 3 years to work with this team and this committee on this project. I wanted to start the celebration with it's part of a poem actually by Emily Dickinson, and the poem's called Nature is What We See, but she goes on to change her thinking about it and says, nature is what we know, yet have no art to say. So impotent our wisdom is to her simplicity. And to me, it just really speaks about the awesomeness of nature and the importance of these public places and public parks and access. So I really want to spend a few minutes just saying thank you to all the people that helped to get us here. Then we're going to open up the park. Actually, it's open already. I'm just going to ask you to hold your applause. We'll get through it a little bit quicker. First and foremost is this volunteer committee, this amazing group of people right behind me. Sarah Raposa, our town planner, who helped identify different funding sources. She found us the site survey in the beginning and just helped us navigate innumerable hurdles through this whole process. Kevin Ryder from Park and Recs, who couldn't be here with us tonight, but they're responsible for the maintenance of all of our parks in town, and they do a fantastic job, and they really deserve our support. Minta Hisongs, who's here, who helped with all the fundraising and the bricks and the sponsorships and really got us over the finish line here to actually build the park. Matt McCormick from the Downtown Study Committee, who also couldn't be here but is also on the sign committee, and he's just one of those amazing civic volunteers in our community. Bobby Kennedy from the DPW, I know I saw him. I'm sure he's hiding someplace, but the DPW does an amazing job and is responsible for everything that you don't see in the park. So all the infrastructure that's under the ground and the drainage and the new grading and the sidewalk, just really terrific. And Monique Allen from the Garden Continuum and her crew who donated the design services for this park. And next to her is Keith Mayer from Starbucks, and before him was Tim Larkin, who are business representatives on the committee. So it's not easy to bring together the public, volunteers, municipal departments, private businesses, but this committee did that and more, and they did it with perseverance and grace. Thank you. I also want to say thank you to our town leaders, Mike Sullivan, our town administrator, and Christine Trierweiler, our assistant town administrator. Richard DeSorger, who had early support for us as a selectman, is here today in the back with all these artifacts from the Historical Society about the straw hat manufacturing, which was such a key industry right in this neighborhood. So thank you, Richard. And our current selectmen, Mike Marcucci, Mark Fisher, and Pete Peterson. Pete is the one who actually found all these granite blocks out in the woods and convinced the MBTA to donate them to the park. So pretty impressive group. The warrant committee also, who approved some initial funding or recommended initial funding at town meeting in 2015. And that was really the seed money that allowed us to do the public fundraising and get it started. And of course the Medfield Foundation that took this on as one of their projects so that we could do that fundraising in the first place. And then lastly, all of you, our friends, our neighbors, our colleagues who just have lifted us up these past 3 years, who bought 200 bricks to support the park and the benches and the tables, and another 40 families who made donations without any public recognition or credit at all. Thank you to all of you. So we know from Richard's work at the table that the park has a very long history, but I just tell you in a brief minute a shorter version of its recent history. The town actually purchased this land in 1999, and in 2006 the Downtown Study Committee commissioned a report about all of downtown and looked at our assets and our opportunities, and this park was one of those things on the list. I think if you remember when the mobile gas station was here, it was maybe not so attractive as it is today. But in 2013, we were interested in involving the public in the planning of the park. And so out of that, some of you might remember we had the giant chalkboards in the park, and we had the Adirondack chairs, and we had a piano out here for a couple of weeks one spring, and we had portraits on the sidewalk, and we held a couple of public meetings. All of that provided information about behavior, about interests. It's just a tremendous amount of data. We collected over 180 comments about what people wanted to see and do in this space. So all of that combined with our committee's interest in creating easily maintainable space, something that was durable, something that could be used by multiple generations at the same time, that would introduce public seating on this side of Route 109. All of that was coalesced into this brilliant design by Monique Allen from the Garden Continuum. And I wanted to invite you up to say a few words also.
Thank you, Jean. Before I dive into telling you a little bit about the park, I want everyone to give an enormous round of applause to Jean Mineo, who without her help and leadership, this would not have happened. Thank you. I also want to thank a couple of other people who were instrumental. So I'm just going to reiterate that the DPW was so helpful in working on the infrastructure of this park. As that part was happening, my design associate, Nils Bodecker, was at the park daily, making sure that the vision of this park was on the right track right from the beginning, because if you don't get the beginning right, nothing works. So he was tireless when I couldn't be here in making sure that things went the way they were supposed to. Also, I'm just going to do a shout out to my team, awesome installers and maintainers, gardeners, who took care of this place and made sure that every single detail of plant selection, planting, and care until we could get it open happened. They were just wonderful and oftentimes took it upon themselves. I didn't even know they came to water. They went by, they saw something dry, they stopped, they watered. So it was really cool. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the park, because I think it's really important for you to understand the design intent. I think it'll help you to enjoy the park more. And so for starters, the design of this park is sustainable design. I don't know if anybody knows anything about that, but the idea is that we want to jumpstart a brand new ecology in such a way that it will then take care of itself, not 100%, but more than your average landscape. So in order to do that, you have to select plants in a certain way, place them in a certain way, and then care for it really diligently for the first 3 years or so that things grow in. For instance, if you look at this park right now, you see lots of little plants and lots of little things on the ground and a lot of mulch. Ideally, what's going to happen, and not even ideally, what is going to happen, is 3 years from now, this will not look the same. 5 years from now, it'll look even different. Many of the plants on the outside edges are going to get quite big. They will be pruned and maintained, but the idea is to make the parking lots and the road sort of go away so that when we're in here, we feel nestled in nature and in the environment. The other thing that's going to happen is that the plants will grow and spread in such a way that we need to do less weeding, less watering, less mulching. All of that means maintenance goes down and costs go down. The other thing that's really cool about that is as these plants put out roots, they're going to need less water. So right now we're putting a lot of water on here, but by this time next year, it'll be half that. The grass that you're all standing on, I don't know if to you it looks different, but this grass is called Black Beauty Tall Fescue. And it's an eco blend of seed, and it needs less water, less fertilizer, and less mowing. It's also very rugged and takes foot traffic really, really well. So the idea, again, we want people on the lawn. We want you to be able to feel like you can congregate here, and we want the lawn to be better for it. Some people that need to be thanked as a part of this park getting pulled together. Local company, Leaders Environmental, donated the pruning of these trees, these old trees. We have a Norway maple. I know it's an invasive species, but it's here, it's old, we're leaving it. We've got a sugar maple right in the middle here that used to have a Norway maple right smack up against it. We took it out so that this beautiful sugar could mature beautifully. It has more water and more nutrients than it's probably ever had now. And then at the street, we've got a struggling ash that's really been having a hard time. We're now trying to care for it really well. We've had it pruned, and over time what we'll do is we'll take good care of it so that it can last longer, because the trees are super important. Lastly, we have 2 pear trees that, as part of the Starbucks development, were planted, and those will begin to create a really beautiful canopy on that side, and they have wonderful white flowers in the spring, so make sure you take a look at that. The Sod Co. donated some of the sod for us, which was great. Levels Nursery helped us with some deeper discounts on some of the plants. And who am I forgetting? Oh, Walpole Woodworkers donated these panels so that we could screen the loading dock here. And a vendor in our town, Sam White's and Son, really deserves real kudos, because they donated every single gray paver on that patio, which was a huge donation and really wonderful. Lastly, I want to share with you the brilliance behind the water feature. So this is a one-of-a-kind water feature. You won't see this one anywhere. And it's a joint venture of design between our vision, mine and Nils, for the park, and Sean Cudmore, who's going to raise his hand right now so that you can see him, who is a real brilliant water guy, just really knows how to make water work. And John Novak, who is, there he is, who is Stonecutter's Farm, and just a brilliant, brilliant artist with stone. And together they were able to take our vision and just make it into that beautifully interactive fountain. So I'm going to end there and just say, let's thank all these wonderful people. And I'll be around, and so if you have any questions about plants or the park, you can ask me.
All right, so I'm going to ask the committee to gather behind the ribbon. Jake, come on up. This is the photo op, folks. Well, I'm going to do the countdown. So everybody count with me backwards from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Enjoy the rest of your time here, and thank you for your support through the last couple of years.
Medfield TV, community shows.